Welcome to r/JustNoHOA, where people share stories about their crazy homeowner associations that make us feel better about not living in an HOA. If you are new to the channel, please don't forget to subscribe to join our awesome community. Without any further ado, let's dive right into the stories. Drama over a cardboard box / retaliation? The fun with my HOA truly never ends. I was involved in a slip and fall on snow within the common areas of my condo complex. Wound up severely fracturing my ankle with surgery and a long rehab required. Spoke with an attorney who agreed to take the case. Attorney immediately sent out a letter to both the HOA and property management company, putting them on notice that a suit was forthcoming. The HOA has cameras scattered throughout the property, so the whole thing was captured on camera. I've also had a boatload of issues with them in the past regarding various issues and sued them in small claims court about a year ago, and they settled with me. The other day I got an email from the property management company about a cardboard box that I put in a dumpster, stating that it should have been broken down and placed in the recycling bin. My response was that there is nothing in the association's covenants or maintenance standards that mandates recycling, nor is there anything regarding the maximum volume of a box that we are allowed to throw away without breaking it down first. The box in question was not particularly big. It contained a hard drive, perhaps 12 inches or so in length. Came home the other day to find said box sitting by my door with a note, anonymous of course, that it needs to be broken down and placed in recycling. Given that I'm forced to use crutches while recuperating from surgery, doing simple things such as taking out garbage is a gigantic task. I was extremely tempted to take a dump in the box and leave it. Wound up just ignoring it and kicked it out of the way. This afternoon I got an alert on my phone. I have a video doorbell that someone was at my door. Turns out it was the HOA president, who is pretty much the epitome of that Karen meme. With a giant scowl on her ancient face, she removed the box. Undoubtedly, a violation letter will soon show up in my mailbox, despite the fact that I did not violate a rule. I have no doubt they are trying to create a paper trail now that they know a huge lawsuit is heading their way. According to my attorney, these suits can easily be settled for 6 figures. It's rather sad they are tracking my every move, including what I place in the dumpster. What is my next move here? And guys, as you know, unfortunately I cannot give a no cliffhanger promise for the HOA stories, but instead we will read some of the comments. This comment was posted by user Starry Skies. He says, "Follow the rules, respond with politely worded written inquiries that reference the community rules if they claim a violation, and track their movements onto your front porch." User BuildFXR said, "If you have a video doorbell, can't you see who put the box back on your doorstep?" And OP responded, "Yes, I did see. It was Karen, the HOA president, in all her glory." And user AlecW81 said, "I'm petty, so I would have taken the box to the HOA president's house, left it on the step and set it on fire." And guys, let me know in the comments, what would you have done? No HOA, no city support. I am so effing annoyed. I bought my house in 2014, no HOA as was stipulated to my realtor, everything Gucci. Fast forward to my request last week that my city fill 2 giant, over 1 feet in diameter potholes on my street via our online city help thing. They call me back and say they will not because my street was deemed part of an HOA in 1980 when my house was built, and even though they have the record showing the HOA went defunct in 2009, it's somehow this magical, non-existent association's responsibility to fix my street. They also suggested I just pay for someone private to come out. F that. I even emailed my council member and she said, "Oh yeah, I looked into having your street absorbed by the city in 2010, but they said no, because there's not enough room to enlarge the street to have a sidewalk. Sorry, I won't do anything else to help you." How did I try so hard to avoid an HOA after dealing with a crappy one years ago, only to end up more effing screwed over? Anyone else dealt with anything like this? My next step is to find my deed in my lockbox and look up that original contractor from 1980 and tell him to fix the effing street, since he is the one who decided it was going to be an HOA community, but I, first, doubt he will, and second, doubt he's still in business 40 years later. So apart from being able to vent at him, it's likely futile and I will just have to continue to drive like I am playing an arcade game to save my alignment and tires. Speaking of old arcade games, I'm curious to know what was your favorite game in the past, let's say from the 80s until 90s until early 2000s. You know, even nowadays I sometimes still play on my Super Nintendo, and every now and then I even use my Nintendo 64. The old Mario and Donkey Kong Country games are just too damn good. Seattle area HOA/coronavirus. My wife traveled to China in early December due to the death of her father. She returned to the USA this most recent Sunday, the 2nd of February, early in the morning. She was in an area of China very far away from Wuhan, and for the past 2 weeks she stayed at home the entire time she was in China. When leaving, she went through a temperature screening at the airport there, and nothing else was required of her health-wise at SeaTac. There are no government-mandated quarantines in any way at the moment. She decided she would stay home for 2 weeks anyways just to be safe, but realistically, the chance of having any dangerous virus is probably lower than catching the flu. Only one neighbor of mine knew my wife was out of town in any way, and I told them when she would be returning. On Monday, the 3rd, a property manager with our HOA condo came to our door while I was at work and yelled at my wife, telling her she cannot be here and has to leave because she went to China. This morning, posted all around only our condo unit, was flyers saying that a person in unit XXX has returned from China and was under coronavirus quarantine and is very dangerous and you should avoid them. This type of posting is intentionally ostracizing my wife and making her feel unwelcome to even be here, especially after suffering such a family hardship. These HOA people have no idea where she even was in China, nor did they talk to us about anything. They just immediately considered her a threat and are trying to impose some sort of quarantine on her. Would love to hear options to explore how to deal with them. So far I have called the local PD to get a case report about possible civil rights housing violations, as they are impeding on her ability to live here based on her national origin/race. Edit, thank you for advice. I sent the board a very strongly worded letter that suggested legal action after a local sheriff spoke with the property manager guy and my wife separately. All the signs are gone and now they are kissing her ass completely. The property manager's excuse for why he did it pretty much amounted to, "I was told to do it, so I just followed orders." As if this alleviated him of any responsibility. Must be 78 years old, going on 4, I suppose. Appreciate all the support and we will continue on now, probably look for a new place in the near future to live. The only single neighbor who knew that my wife was out of town at all, and I assume is the one who ratted us out to the HOA in the first place, would not even open the door and talk to me when I knocked. They just sat, murmured through the door and said to call them. Yep, F that rat piece of crap for being adults. These people sure are total effing cowards. The only support in our building that we have received so far has been the Hispanic couple across the hallway from us, which we spoke with maybe 6 times in 2 years. The wife simply knocked on our door when I was at work and asked my wife how she is doing and if she thinks she is sick. My wife told her no and explained her time in China to her and why her risk level was far beyond 0. The lady said thank you and went along on her way. By actually talking to my wife, she showed more respect than any of these 70-plus-year-old crusty white Fs on the HOA board. My wife is under no mandate in any way to stay home, but she will continue to do so voluntarily because she cares enough to respect others even if the respect is not returned. Guys, I'm curious to hear what you think about this virus. Maybe you even already wear a face mask in everyday life. Let us know. For me personally, I'm not worrying too much right now in Europe, but I gotta admit, if there's any case close to my home, I will definitely start to wear a mask just to be on the safe side. Woman loses home after HOA auctions her nearly $500K home for $30K. A Las Vegas woman's home worth almost $500,000 slipped away for just $30K at auction. Contact 13 uncovers how that could happen and why paying your mortgage could take a backseat to what you pay your homeowners association. Nevada law allows HOAs to auction off houses when a homeowner falls behind on their association dues. It is called a super priority lien. And it means an HOA can sell your home out from under you and possibly your mortgage lender. It is insane, you cannot even find words to say, says Carol Johnson. Carol knew she was losing her 4-bedroom, 2,400 square foot Summerlin home. She had fallen on hard times due to a series of severe medical problems, she had family members pass away, the economy tanked, and she filed for bankruptcy. Behind on both her mortgage and HOA dues, Carol never recovered, so it was time for a short sale. Getting so close for us to materializing and getting it done, Karen explains, so that I get out of this nightmare. Working with a realtor, Karen understood the short sale would provide her with $20,000 for relocation. We had a very serious buyer that has funds, $450,000 in escrow, she says. But that would never come to pass. Carol was shocked to find out that while her short sale was in progress, her house went to auction, sold by her HOA over unpaid dues. The HOA says Carol never told them about the short sale. Carol admits to that, saying her health problems and other issues were a distraction. Country records show the house Zillow estimates at $430,000 was auctioned off for a mere $30,000. The HOA provided the following statement. It is regrettable that years of resident non-payment of assessments and non-communication eventually leaves an association board no other option but to exercise the collection process put into place to protect all residents. It's like I'm gonna die, says Carol. Oh my god, 30 grand? Oh Jesus! Carol reached out to Frank Hill, the man who bought her house. On the day of the auction, Carol says Frank was understanding at first. She thought he agreed to pick up a check at a title company to reimburse his $30K before the sale was recorded. But he never did that. Then, a month later, Carol's realtor, Ron Hurst, says they met with Hill hoping to reach an agreement for a settlement amount that he would take at close of escrow so he would sign off any interest in the property. But Carol was served with an eviction notice instead. Ron emphasizes Frank got the house legally but takes issue with Nevada law. And to put this poor lady in this predicament right now when it did not have to be that way, says Ron. The way Ron sees it, the super priority lien law is the problem. Carol cannot move forward with the short sale and the lender cannot require the new owner to pay the mortgage because he was never the borrower. While the lender can still technically foreclose on the house, they cannot sell it because they don't have title. And the new owner? He's not happy either.
I bought it because I thought there was a nice property and I wanted to be there, and unfortunately it has been a nightmare,
says Frank. Frank says Carol's problems are not his fault.
I was willing to work with her and I tried to work with her,
he says.
And I met with her and I talked with her.
But bottom line, he wants the house.
And if you look in my garage, you will see I need a larger space.
Frank Hill is still trying to evict Carol, but the case is now in court. The mortgage lender told us it is up to the homeowner to work out an extension with the HOA if they have a short sale in the works to prevent a house going to auction. And guys, unfortunately, I could not find an update to the story. In case you find one, please post it in the comments and I will pin it in the comments section. Furthermore, please let us know what would you have done if you were in Frank Hill's situation. Would you have kept a house that you bought for $30,000 which is worth more than $500K? I guess it's morally wrong, but in some way I can definitely understand why he did what he did. Quit HOA, home doubles in value. Disclaimer, huge wall of text ahead. This is quite a long story spanning through a period of a few years. I've taken some licenses for entertainment purposes and altered many details for privacy, but the facts are all there. About 20 years ago, my uncle acquired/bought an apartment in a new fancy condo. Each floor was separated in 2 apartments, except for the top floor, which was a single apartment more than double the size with a private attic. All other units had a storage area in the basement. He got the top floor. The building had a large common hall and a large yard all around it, so the owners decided to create an HOA to maintain the common areas and protect property value. My uncle has always been an independent man, so he was not keen on the idea, but he recognized it was necessary. However, he proposed an article in the statute allowing any member to recede from the HOA by paying a contribution and entering a limited agreement. People under this contract would not be in the HOA, but would be required to contribute to common expenses, meaning light, cleaning, administration, etc. and maintenance, though in this case the HOA was required to confront their respective quotes for the job before proceeding. Since the votes were based on surface owned and he thus had the swing vote, the rule was included in the statute. A couple of years go by without a hitch, the HOA works as planned, a couple more units are sold, everything is fine and dandy. Enter Karen. My uncle describes Karen as your worst high school teacher with a resting bitch face like she was constantly smelling sewage. In reality, she was a plain woman in her 50s, dirty blonde, single, a pocket dog and 2 cats with a mildly annoyed expression frozen on her face and the fashion sense of Dolores Umbridge. Although after starting reading Reddit posts, I'm having a hard time not superimposing the classic Karen hairstyle on her. She was one of the original owners but never had much interaction with the others. The first time my uncle took any notice of her was when she tried to introduce a rule preventing children from playing in the common hall because
their rowdiness and the prospective damage they could cause might decrease property value.
My uncle did not like participating in the meetings and he did not have kids yet, but that time he intervened, saying that he would rather have happy kids around, even if that meant losing a bit of value, and proposed creating an emergency fund for accidental damage instead. Karen was outvoted. While they were leaving the conference room, she threw a look at him like she was about to breathe fire on him. He disliked and distrusted her from that moment on. Karen tried several times to pass more restrictive rules, but she kept getting outvoted, even thanks to my uncle's double vote. But at the same time, she was doing something else. She was buying additional units and forcing her rules onto her tenants, including those regarding the common areas, so that meant that her tenants' kids could not play with the other kids in the common hall. For instance, that one was nearly impossible to enforce and led to complaints. Over time, thanks to her by now 4 votes, Karen got a seat in the HOA. That was an alarm bell for my uncle, who filed to leave the HOA as per his own article on the same day. And not a moment too soon, as that article was cancelled even before his request was processed. The HOA then initially denied his request and he had to sue and go to arbitration to prove he had filed his request before the rule was expunged. But from that moment he was free. Over the next couple of years he had to go to arbitration twice more, once because the HOA demanded payment for a renovation without giving him the chance to present an alternative quote, and once because Karen and her newfound clique kept harassing him with fines he did not have to pay. He won both times and Karen was beyond hate. Every time they met each other, she looked at him with such a contempt he actually started fearing for his safety. In this period, Karen's increasingly restrictive rules had caused a high turnover both of tenants and owners. Even if everything was still in pristine condition, Karen was very good at that. The HOA rules were a hard sell. This had decreased the value of the apartments a lot, and Karen used this to buy even more lots, ended up with 6 total. When my aunt got pregnant, they decided that the condo was not really kid-friendly anymore, so they decided to sell. As I mentioned, the property value had dropped in the recent years, but evidently not my uncle's apartment. When he put it on the market, he advertised it as free from local HOA. He ended up selling it to one of the former residents for almost double the price for square foot than any other apartment in the building. Happy end? Wait, there's more. A couple of weeks after moving, my uncle received a call from the very distraught new owner saying that members of the HOA are harassing him and that Karen has threatened to sue him because the HOA has a new rule that all new owners must sign up for the HOA. My uncle, verbatim, "So? You're not part of the HOA. You don't need to give a crap about the rules they make." New owner pauses as he processes the information. Ahaha! They chatted a bit and the new owner, after enduring for years, was quite happy about the prospect of effing with Karen and the powerless HOA. If you ask me, that happy ending was very satisfying, and if you have watched until here, please don't forget to post some star emojis in the comments and also like the video if you want to support me. If we could reach 1000 likes on the video, that would be absolutely amazing. Thank you so much. And unfortunately guys, we have reached the end of the video. It is 23 o'clock on a Friday. Thank you so much for all your support daily. It really means the world to me. And it makes me very happy to read your comments daily. I hope you have a fantastic day and I see you again tomorrow.